So today, our lesson is going to be on not graphing, but writing. Okay, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, okay, what point slope form is. But before we start, I want to go ahead and start with what we did yesterday, okay? I show you that yesterday we have, for example, 2 points. So let me just tell you what they are now. Let's say I have a point right here and another point right about here. Let's say that. Can you tell me what those 2 points are? Location of the point?
-2.
Okay, so it's -2 and 2. Next?
3, -2.
3, -2. Okay, so 3, -2. Any questions so far in that one?
No.
Okay, so let me just try to, if I can actually move this out. Oh, oh there it is. Oh, hold on. Oh, please stop, sorry. New set of points. Forget about it. Okay, so -3, 3. And what?
2, -2.
2, -1. Okay, so let's connect these 2 points here and show you what they are. See that? You see that yet? Okay, so what kind of slope do you expect to have just by looking at the graph? It's a negative slope. So we have negative slope, positive, and what does the zero slope should look like again? Horizontal and vertical will give you a undefined. Okay, so good. So knowing that this is a negative slope, can you tell me the exact value of the slope though? What do we do to find the exact value of the slope? What do you think? Subtraction. Okay, so let's subtract. We have -3, 3, and we have 2, -1, right? Let's separate that and do subtract. What is -3 minus 2?
-5.
Okay, so that's -5. What is 3 minus -1?
4.
4? Good. Okay, so we have this information. How do we put this information to form a slope? Y over x, which is?
4.
Okay, good. So it's 4 over -5, right? Any questions so far? So I'm reviewing as we work on a new concept as well. So this is how we find our slope. And yes, always, if the slope is not given, the first thing you should jump right into is finding the slope. And that's how we find the slope. Pretty easy concept, right? Okay, and then yesterday I said this. If I want you to write it in the slope-intercept format, you would start by actually writing down the actual slope-intercept format of it. Y equals m times x plus b. And if you look at this very carefully, what is already given at this point? The slope. And what else is given? Y and x. Good. Because notice that I don't just have one y and one x, I have 2 of them. Is that true? Because since I have 2 points. Tell me, which point would you prefer to use over the other? So which one is it? This one or this one? The bottom one? Okay, why bottom? Because it's smaller, easier to manage, you know what I'm saying? So typically you want to go with the smaller value, okay? So let's say I'm going to choose this one, and I already have my slope. Let's plug stuff in. What would you replace the y with? -1. What about the m?
4 over
-5. Okay, so 4 over -5, and the x is going to be? 2. And so what we end up with is, let me use a different color here, the b, because we want to solve for that, right? Okay, so you're like, oh my gosh, fraction. It's okay. We have fraction. Deal with fraction. Okay? And I still have some students having a problem with multiplying fraction. That's why I want to come up with a problem like this just to show you that it's actually easy to do. Not bad. Look, this is -1. What is 4 -5 over -5 times 2?
8 over
Good. So you multiply basically right across, right? 4 times 2 is 8, and -5 times 1 is -5 plus b. Question so far? Okay, and then how do we solve for b?
You add
We would add the Yes. So we add this over. And let's work it on the side here to show you how to add fractions again. This is 8/5 plus -1, right? Or should I say just -1? Okay, how do we subtract these two numbers? Common denominator, which is 5. Okay, so the common denominator for these two would be 5. This will remain the same, right? So it's just going to remain as 8. What about over here? Okay, is that what we should have? We agree? So 8 minus 5 is 3/5. Any questions so far? 3/5. Well, I'm going to go ahead and erase it to make room here. So when we take 8/5 minus 1, we have 3/5 equals to b, and so this is our b. We're good? How do we put this information to form a slope-intercept form?
You put in the 3/5 times b and the 4 -5 is
So how do we start this? How do we start writing the equation?
So 3/5.
y equals
Y equals, yes, we start with that. Because remember, this is our form that we want to write it in. Y equals what?
4 -5.
Okay, or can we write it as -4/5? Is that okay? Good, so either way is fine. And
Plus 3/5.
plus 3/5. This right here, guys, is the slope-intercept. Question. This is just a review from yesterday, right? So we're comfortable with that? Okay, so today, I'd like to actually introduce to you another form, which will speed this up nicely for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this information right here and write it here just to remind you what our answer is. It's -4/5 x plus 3/5. So keep that in your mind, okay, as I restart this whole problem. But this time around, instead of using what we call a slope-intercept form, I'd like to introduce you the form called point slope form. It looks like this. Please write down and box it, okay? This right here is called the point slope form. And you're definitely going to think this as your friend over the other form, okay? So how does it look like? Well, it's basically requires you to fill in only 3 values once again. The m and a point. But this time, I don't need you to have the y-intercepts at all. Any point will be fine for this particular form. Okay? The other thing that you need to remember is that since this form will help you obtain the equation right away, you do not need to replace the y or the x at all. You leave the input and output variables intact. Do not even touch them at all. The only thing that you fill in are the 2 boxes and the m. You might have questions on, wait, what do I fill in this box over here that on the y side, and there's a box over here on the x side? Well, just like what I just stated. The y side, will you fill in the y value? The x side, you fill in the x value of the point. So let's say I pick, you know what, let's change it a little bit. Let's pick -3/3 this time. Is that okay? Just to show you that it will work either way. So let's pick that, and I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Watch what happens. In here, the y side, I take the y value of the point and plug it in. On the x side of things, I've taken the x value of the point and plug it in. Questions so far? We're good? And the m, what is the m again? -4/5. Okay, so let me rewrite the entire thing here for you to see. It's going to be y minus 3 equals to -4/5 x. And because I see negative, it becomes a positive. I clear it up. This right here, guys, is called the point slope form. If I ask you to write in point slope form, this is all I'm asking you to do. Plug the slope, plug in the x and y. You're done. This is called point slope form. But why is it so good? Guess what? If you solve for y, watch what happens when I solve for y. First, let's take care of this. How do you distribute that one? What is it going to get you? -4/5 x. And what is -4/5 plus times 3? -12/5, right? Okay, and then if I want to solve for y, don't I add the 3 over? Agree? So let's add these two to see what you have. What is -12/5 plus 3? Let's do a side problem on this, just to show you what it looks like. This is -12/5 plus 3/1, which means we have the common denominator of 5, right? But -12 remains the same, because we already have the same denominator. What about over here? What would that be? 15. Because to make this 1 turn to 5, you have to times it by 5, right? So 5 bottom, 5 top makes it 15. So what is negative 12 plus 15? 3. So and that means you have 3/5, right? As we answered. So when you add it, this is 3/5. Do we agree? Yes? Okay, look. Is that the same? Is that shorter?
Yes.
Absolutely. So with point slope form, you can easily solve for y and get it into the slope-intercept form almost right away. Just distribute it and then move the rest of the value over so that y is going to be by itself. And you're done. Okay, any questions so far? Would you like this approach? Okay. Now, last thing I need to cover with you is the standard form. What is it? It's actually just 2 rules that you need to remember to make it your standard. So, continuation from this, let me just go ahead and set up a 2 rules for you. Please write this down. Make this smaller. So we just went from point slope form down to slope intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and write it so that you remember what the form is. Now, the last thing I want you to do is to be able to convert the slope intercept into standard form. Well, what is standard form? First of all, the first rule I need you to remember is that all variables need to be on one side. In order. Now, what does it mean in order? Alphabetical order. X, Y, A, B, C, for example. That's what I mean. Okay? That's the first rule. Second rule, all coefficients. Now, you know what coefficients are. You know what coefficients are? Number in front of the variable. Right. Have to be integers. Well, when I say integers, do we have fractions? No. Do you have decimals? No. So all coefficients have to be integers, and the first coefficient has to be positive. First coefficient has to be positive. Okay? So these are the 2 rules I need you to remember when you convert it back to standard form. So now let's revisit this problem right here. First of all, do we have all the variables to one side? No. So how do you make it so that all variables are on one side? What would you move? Which one? Yeah, this whole x term, right? So move it over. So how would you move the negative 4/5 x over? Add it. So I'm going to add it over. It's going to look like this. 4/5 x plus y equals to 3/5. Do we agree? Notice I also follow the order of your alphabet as well. X, then y. You see it? Okay, then I look at the second rule. It says all coefficients have to be integers. And the first has to be positive. Well, the first is already positive. But is that an integer? No. So how do we convert? How do we clear fraction, basically?
Common denominator.
Which is? 5. So we multiply everything by 5. So we multiply everything by 5. What's the first term going to be? 4x plus 5y equals 3. This right here, guys, is what we call the standard form. That's it. It's just to rewrite it, to make it look cleaner. Do you see this? It looks pretty clean, right? No fraction, looks very nice. So standard form has this format, and I want you to make sure you remember that. There it is. And it looks exactly like what I have there for you. So all the variables will be on one side. The coefficient will be all integers. The first term has to be a positive alphabetical order. There. Okay. Any question on this one? Okay, I'll stop this while I do one more example with you so that you will have a better understanding of it. Okay.